So let's move on to the next one, which is
Jalen, thank you.
defense, defensive player of the year. We'll go with defense next. Of course, Deron Bland from Dallas. Good old Max Crosby from
Tough.
Raiders. Myles Garrett from the Browns. Micah Parsons from the Cowboys. And, of course, T.J. Watt from the Steelers. Now, I will say, Chris, to your argument of what you just said a minute ago, T.J. Watt missed some games. So by your thinking, we shouldn't really consider T.J. Watt for this award. But I will say this, it's really hard to take away the impact he made while he was in there. So I'm going to, no offense to you, Chris, but I'm going to disagree with you as well, because I really feel like this could be an award that T.J. Watt could win, even when he missed. Now, I picked somebody else before. I'm not, but for the purposes of our show today, it's between two people now. I kind of, with reading everything, it's hard to take away from what Myles Garrett meant to the Browns this year and the way that he played this year, like a madman with his hair on fire. And I love Myles Garrett. I always have. Micah didn't have as great a year probably as he could have, and that could be for a lot of different reasons. So I'm not trying to knock the guy. He's still one of the 5 nominees for this award. Deron Bland had a good year as the cornerback there in Dallas. He would be like one of those sleeper. Well, I'm saying he's one of those sleeper like underdog. You wouldn't mind seeing the guy win, but you figure he's not going to. Just being honest. But I'm going to go with T.J. Watt here. And again, I know people can fine say what you will, but I'm telling you, Pittsburgh was definitely not the same when that gentleman was gone. And he really, and again, it's not defensive MVP. It's just called defensive player of the year. But I think T.J. Watt had a phenomenal year, even with the time he missed. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, like I said, Chris, you could argue definitely for Myles Garrett. I would not be disappointed if he won, but I'm going to go with T.J. Watt. Delilah, how about you?
Yeah, I think T.J. Watt is going to win, but I would like to see Myles win, to be honest. But I honestly would not be upset if T.J. won. I feel like that's where they're going to go with. I do feel based on the awards being given out by the other, sports, articles and, all those things, and they've been awarding it to TJ. I do think Myles should get it, but I do think TJ will win it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely.
Myles Garrett should get it, but I think TJ will win it. And I wouldn't even be upset because, he's a beast.
Listen, if either one of those two win, it's fine. For me, anyways.
I mean, same.
How about you? Defensive player of the year.
How do you not give defensive player of the year to the guy that broke the record for cornerbacks in terms of interceptions for the year? No, I mean, that is how do you top that?
Like I said,
other guys, yes,
he's an underdog.
Defenses,
underdog choice
but
for me.
He broke a 50-year, well, not 50-year. I think it's 15-year record. Seriously,
I know.
How do you not give it to Deron Bland?
I hope he does win.
Yes, I admit I'm biased. I love my corners. I agree with that. But also, I get the others. T.J. Watt, Pittsburgh wouldn't have been as bad as they were in the playoffs if T.J. had been in that game. Yeah, I get that. But to me, that is just breaking a record.
Yeah,
is just it's not a subjective. Because the rest of these are subjective. It's how you feel about what that position and what they did. Breaking a record is an objective standard. But Micah Parsons, not too big of a deal. Myles Garrett, yeah. I do find it funny that none of us have even said one thing about Max Crosby.
I mean, he had a good year, but I don't.
Sorry, yeah.
And again, I think he's number 5 on this list, and that's just not a slight on Max, but I just think he's number 5 on this list.
I think he was put on there because if the Raiders didn't have Max Crosby, they didn't have a defense. So I kind of agree where that goes. But Myles Garrett, yeah, he did. But like I said in previous episodes, getting towards the end of that season, that Cleveland defense was going down. So he's an amazing defensive person. But I'm still going it. Deron Bland. You can't convince me otherwise.
Anthony
I don't like
Henry.
rooting for Cowboys.
Yeah, we know.
Deron
We
Bland. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to
okay.
it. That
There you
boy
go.
had that boy did the doggone thing this season. It's like it got to a point. It got to a point. I won't say that he was the reincarnation of Dion, but
Okay.
he was so good. But he was so good this past season that they had to quarterbacks thought twice. Well, some of them
Mhm.
didn't. Some of them didn't. That's why he broke the record. But quarterbacks thought twice about throwing the ball on that side of the field.
Mhm. No,
There's
no,
this like
I get it. Like I said, I hope he's a sleeper pick. I hope he does win. That would be phenomenal. I just don't think he will. It's kind of that theory of I don't think they'll give it to him, but he does. He would be deserving of it. No doubt about that. I don't think. And that's actually who I picked when I picked on the NFL edition. I picked Deron Bland, actually, and that was a couple weeks ago. So I know Alex has that somewhere on tape. But yeah, all good stuff.